I'd now like to introduce Kathy Parton. Kathy Parton has over 30 years' experience working within the community services sector in not-for-profit, federal, state and local government sectors. In November 2019, Kathy commenced as interim CEO at Aquatics and Recreation Victoria. She has been a board member of ARV since 2018.
Thank you for the opportunity to present to you today. I'm going to take you through three key areas regarding our experience over the last 8 months around industry coordination and advocacy. I think it's important to note that these are preliminary thoughts. This topic requires much more thinking and discussion. We're still managing, obviously, the impacts of the pandemic on our businesses and services, so I see there is a real opportunity to discuss this topic much more. So what a year. We know that COVID has been the blunt instrument to help us to see what we can and need to collectively advocate for. The passion of what we do and how to best position and coordinate our industry to achieve mutual benefits and outcomes for all has been evident. This quote paints the picture of the year to date and our hopes for the future. And I'd like to acknowledge the CEO of LSV, Nigel Taylor, for sharing some of his thoughts. So our achievements. I'll take you through some of the achievements to date. Firstly, the development of an industry recovery proposal. In June 2020, we forwarded to the Victorian Government, after getting support from the Minister for Community Sport, a proposal to support the reboot, recovery and sustainability of the Victorian aquatics and recreation sector. Many areas were discussed in the lead up to that proposal. Key areas were supported. And we're still awaiting deliberations at the November Victorian budget. Financial support for a training package for the industry to upskill current staff and new entrants into the industry. 2, funding to support an initiative to address the high cost of energy consumption. 3, a scheme to increase access and attendance within aquatic facilities and support the Learn to Swim sector. And 4, support for the continuation of coordination of our sector. The second achievement was the development of an industry reopening proposal. This proposal was discussed at several Victorian government roundtables with senior staff from various government departments, and it outlined a number of things. The benefits of our industry, the preparedness of our industry, the impacts of the closure of our industry, and a recommended reopening schedule aligned to the Victorian Government roadmap for metropolitan Melbourne and regional Victoria. The third achievement was the establishment of key industry collaborations that didn't exist before. I want to highlight 3. The Victorian Aquatics and Recreation Industry Leaders Group, the Victorian Aquatic Industry Alliance, the National Aquatic and Recreation Industry Leaders Group, and there's been a number also of issues-based and locally developed collaborations over this time. The fourth achievement is the development of resources to support industry reopening and recovery, and I want to just put a spotlight on one of those. LSV have developed a return to play plan, which is providing statewide guidance to assist our industry to prepare and to return to pools, and informs their COVID-safe plans. The fifth achievement is the development of an industry advocacy plan, and this advocacy plan has really supported us with our advocacy to the Victorian Government and the federal government. It's really identified the key asks of government to support the recovery of the industry and the reopening of the industry. The sixth achievement has been to strengthen partnerships within the Victorian Government between our industry and the Victorian Government, and I want to highlight those partnerships that have been strengthened with SRV, DHHS, DET, the new Community Sport Minister, and obviously Emergency Management Victoria as well. Another achievement is many industry innovations over time that have really informed new and different service design and delivery. So what has informed our achievements? 3 key things. Firstly, industry surveys. Industry surveys have been done by peak associations, management companies, and local governments, and other organisations in our industry. The key things that have come from these surveys has been an understanding of the needs and impacts of COVID-19 on our industry, a particular survey around swim schools to understand both the financial impacts and participation impacts on them. Many organisations have surveyed their customers to understand the community's experience of COVID and their confidence to return to our industry. And lastly, our staff. We've also surveyed our staff to understand the impact of COVID on them and particularly their mental health. The second area that's informed our achievements has been industry engagement, and as outlined before, there's been multiple methods to approach our industry and new parts of the sector engaged. The third area of achievements been industry collaborations, and as previously mentioned, there have been new collaborations established made up of technical experts, Victorian and national industry decision makers and leaders, and other industry partners. So what have been the challenges? There have been many challenges over this time. Number one, the changing nature of our environment. The pandemic itself has been shifting and changing, as we all know, and it's impacted our planning and decision making. 2, how we've balanced the competitive elements and individual needs of our organisations whilst trying to look at the bigger picture industry and long-term outcomes. There have been challenges around balancing the competitive elements of our industry, the individual needs of organisations and interests, with the bigger picture of our industry and the long-term outcomes. And there still have been examples of where this has been a challenge for organisations, and the organisational needs have taken priority over the collective outcomes. Thirdly, time, resources and funding. Obviously, COVID has had an impact on us as organisations financially, and certainly there's been many examples of where multiple staff stand-downs have occurred and has impacted the ability for people to participate and engage. Fourth, the absence of our industry. The closure of our industry has obviously had an impact on us financially. It's affected the retention of our staff. It's also affected our ability to upskill our staff. We've had a challenge in influencing government decision making. Whilst making progress and making headroads, that has still been a challenge. And obviously the pathways at times to get to government and get to the decision makers has been challenging. Whilst we've had some opportunities to advise, our ability to influence at times has been difficult. We know there's been a conservative, cautious approach to the reopening of our industry, and that hasn't matched our aspirations. In discussions with the Senior Advisor to the Federal Government Minister for Sport, he has advised the challenge that we have as an industry at a federal level. He has described us as having structural deficiencies at a national level. He outlined that our structures are wide-ranging. We have multiple sectors within one sector. We have an elite industry, a community sport industry, some federated, some not. The levels of resourcing are varied across the industry, and ultimately we have no one voice, no one industry to represent us, compared to other industries like the aviation industry or the arts and entertainment industry, and that has been a challenge for us. One of our greatest challenges but opportunities is how we capitalise on the achievements we've had to date. We've got a challenge now to continue what we've started whilst we restart the industry again. So our learnings are multiple. As you know, we have more providers than previous years, which have offered new thinking, perspectives and connections, which has been fabulous. COVID itself has changed us for the future. We know we need to adapt, pivot and evolve to shape our new normal. We've learnt from our community engagement activities that engagement with our industry, within our industry and outside our industry is critical. We need to create and continue to create those meaningful opportunities for involvement. That's what's going to create the community ownership and investment in our industry. We've learned about the fragility of our facility staffing strategies. Our casual mobile workforce, the younger age profile, has been a positive for us, but has also caused some concerns around long-term retention. And finally, we've learnt that industry advocacy is a marathon, not a sprint. We need to have endurance, we need to have resilience. We've navigated at the starting line, but we need to stay true to the plan, visualise this success and stick to our goals. We're only halfway there. We've learnt that one size doesn't fit all. The Victorian Government roadmaps, as an example, have had a different focus for regional Victoria and Metro Victoria. The restrictions that have been put in place have had different impacts for smaller facilities to larger facilities, the location of facilities as well. We've learnt that our industry is filled with talented people. We've learnt that we need to further strengthen our pathways into government. We've learnt that there's opportunities for new approaches to facility management. We conducted a research project over COVID across Victorian local governments, which identified and has made recommendations for change to the facility management contracts that we have across our industry. There's an opportunity for a new framework, one that provides a better capability of how we cope with major disruptions and provides opportunity for greater community activation. There's also both a greater understanding and recognition both within our industry and within government that our industry is more than facilities. Our industry plays a key role in enabling community health and wellbeing within Victoria and improving the quality of lives of Victorians. So some of the opportunities going forward. We need to continue and strengthen those new collaborations that we've created. We want to ensure that they continue to work together for a common purpose, have a shared vision, and there are many opportunities that they can influence. There are ideas around reform of industrial implements, influence of government policy, government resourcing, and how industry implementation of change happens. We aren't finished yet in advocacy, there's still a long way to go. There's opportunities for enhanced integration between government departments. There's one vision for our industry, but each department plays a different role. We need to take the opportunity to work across those departments. There's opportunities for stronger alignment across the three levels of government. These three levels of government have all got a role to play in our industry. They all have a role to invest in our industry, and we have an opportunity to strengthen the alignment across those levels of government. And as previously outlined, there are opportunities for new frameworks for aquatics and recreation facility management contracts. There's a real opportunity now to create an ongoing database that provides to us and demonstrates to us the capacity and impact of our industry and its ability to achieve health and wellbeing outcomes. A live state of sector report, if you like. So our aspirations for the future. Our research and engagement over this COVID period has told us that the establishment of a national industry body will be critical to the success of our industry. Our aspiration that the importance of the value and benefit of what our industry offers is clearly understood, resourced and valued by all. An aspiration that the strategic alliances that have been established are maintained and strengthened both within and across sectors. Our industry is utilised by government to contribute to addressing a broad range of health and social issues and across multiple public policy areas. We're well placed now to reboot and revitalise the industry coming out of COVID. ARV, as the peak body, along with others, are ready to moderate and facilitate networks, to continue the advocacy to government, and to coordinate industry activity and implementation. So to finish today, another adapted quote. It provides a positive message and I think highlights to us we know what we need and want. It's now up to us to grow the value and the impact of our industry. Our actions will count and we can rewrite the future.